Yo, what is up, everybody? On today's episode of the Satsang podcast, we have my dear brother Trevor Hall. Trev is a special guy, man. He is hugely devoted to his spiritual path, and he holds a real special place in my heart because he's just real sweet and genuine, and his music really reflects that. But aside from his music and even the way he lives, he's just always really been there for me. It's a hard thing as busy as we all are when we're touring and doing our things. It's kind of hard to hold space for people all the time. And Trev has just always really been there and held space for me. And I got a lot of love for him. This conversation was really cool because we cover a lot of spirituality, and we talk a lot about kind of the spiritual take on this whole COVID thing. And yeah, Trev is just one of my favorite people in the world. So without further ado, welcome to the Satsang podcast, episode 2, and here is Trevor Hall.
Trevor Hall, thank you so much for being with us, dude. How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to see your beautiful face.
Likewise, man. It's been forever. This is how we hang out now.
Yeah, man.
How's it been for you, dude? Obviously, first off, that's what I'm asking everyone, dude. How's this thing been for you?
It's been mixed, like anything. I mean, I think it's been good in a lot of ways, just in the sense of being able to be in a kind of regular schedule, and just like stop, really stop on like so many different levels, and letting kind of everything catch up, and like simple things, just taking rest, cooking your own food, all those things. But then as you're, kind of in this space of rest and, I guess a rhythm, at home, you, at least for me, I start to think about all, what's really going on, and I think about all the people, especially in, even our industry, people that we know and that are really going through it right now. And, just people that live check to check, that are just kind of freaking out, and, having loved ones that have the disease, so it's just kind of so many different emotions, wrapped into one. But just taking it day by day and not trying to think too far, ahead, and when are we going to get out of this, or what's this all mean, or what's, all this stuff. I just try to go day by day, moment by moment, But for me personally, it's been really healing to stop so intensely, and to kind of feel the collective stop so intensely. That's been an interesting feeling, because we never do it. So
Yeah, I think, the first week of the reality of like after we had to move those 2 tours,
right.
I really struggled with accepting it because I had just taken 4 months off. Like I take the winter off.
Right.
So to come off of that time off and then be like, wait, what? I don't get to go play music with my friends again until when? It's already been 4 months,
right.
and
right.
to come off of that chunk of time off that we had, the only show that we played at the Bluebird, which sold out in advance. And then we crushed Arizona Roots. So we're all just on this, like, we're going into 2020 swinging, man. Like,
Yeah, super high.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it gets shut
Yeah.
down. And so, yeah, there was like a week for me where I feel like I was really fighting it and just like frustrated and like, well, what the fuck, man? What are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
And then finally have just kind of settled into the hardest thing in the world for me and my personality type, which is just letting go and just being like, well, it's not my call, man. So I just gotta let it go. And I've seen a lot of positivity come from that. you know, of like recentering with the family and just being like, okay, cool. Well, I get to spend all this really precious time with this baby who's only going to be a baby once. So I'll soak that up,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah.
trying to focus on the positives, but it's just, you know, seems like every week more and more stuff gets pulled off the books and just like, okay, you know, I
Right.
think at this point, I'm not even reacting. I'm just like, all right, man, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that, like, if you were, if you were resting for 4 months, I mean, for me, I had like just gotten done like recording a whole album and I was
Sure.
exhausted, and I like flew back home, uh, and like had like maybe like 2 weeks before we were supposed to leave on like this huge tour and like Red Rocks and everything. And I was like, oh shit, man, I don't know if I'm like, I mean, I can do it, but I really just want to chill right now. I was like so like just had put everything, all of my energy, emotional energy, creative energy into a new project. So when our tour got pushed back, postponed, like when I got the news, it was interesting because of course I was bummed because we had,
So
2 weeks out of it.
dude.
Yeah, right. And 2 weeks out of a tour, there's a lot of planning that's gone into it. A lot of money's already been spent, and but there was also the side of me too that was just like my whole body and mind just kind of exhaled. And
Right.
but I can understand if you were off for like 4 months and you get, I feel you, man. I feel you.
Getting the itch, Yeah. And the one thing that I've really got from it too is like, and just talking with my guys, is I think it's easy when you tour as much as we do, which is, over half the year is spent traveling.
Right.
You get to a place with it where you're like, that 90 to 120 minutes on stage is magic.
Right.
But the other 22 hours of the day start to get like, okay, where the fuck are we? And okay, cool.
Yeah.
Kind of monotonous thing. And I don't think we'll ever take it for granted again.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Now that you've gone through it, I feel you.
Yeah, I just really excited to get back. Do you have any sort of like rituals that you do every day that kind of like keep you in your, your happy place?
In my highest self?
Yeah, that keep.
Well, it's interesting because this time has been really good for that. Obviously, when we're on the road like that, it's harder we have different rituals, because it's suited to our environment. And I think as artists and as travelers, we have to kind of have this skill of adapting to wherever we are and whoever we're with, or else it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So when I'm out on the road, it's a different thing, but when I'm home, it really allows me to go deep into my practice, my meditation, and those things that I don't necessarily get to do when I'm running out and about. And it was kind of interesting, like when this quarantine kind of was starting to take shape and like really like happen. It was kind of a auspicious time within Indian philosophy, you'd say, about worshiping the goddess. It's called Navratri. There's one in the spring, 9 nights, right? One in the spring and one in the fall. And the fall is like the famous one, whatever. But so it kind of just started, like right when we were going into quarantine. So that kind of like kicked me into this, hey, like sit down, like, do your practice. And it was really nice for me to just kind of like, okay, now I have the time, I want to dive in here, and it's good to dive in amidst all the chaos and all this stuff to really go in. But I think that's been one of, honestly, if it's weird to say like highlights, of isolation, but I think that has been one of the highlights for me, is just being home and every morning waking up early and getting my, time in, spending like, like you said, with your family, just quality time with my wife. And we got a new puppy, so we've been, busy with busy with that. But it's just, it mainly consists of trying to wake up early and just get a good sit in, before the day starts. One of my teachers in India said, when in the morning when you wake up and you light a stick of incense in the room, the whole day the room will smell like that scent, right? So when you wake up first thing and you light the scent, the divine scent within yourself, whole day, whatever you do, wherever you go, that aroma will stay,
I like
So
that.
that's why, yeah, it's important. So it's just been good to like consistently put in that work, because when we're on the road, on the bus, it's not the same thing like that.
Yeah.
So that's definitely been one of my things really I've tried to put time into, is just my own practice and stuff.
How did you, I know the early story of you being in music school and like kind of getting into
Yeah,
Hindu philosophy and stuff like that.
yeah.
How did that become so incorporated in you? Because I think what's really interesting is, how do I say this? You're like the most normal, super spiritual dude that I know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're super, super dedicated and devoted to your practice, and it really is who you
Right,
are. But you're also just a really awesome, hilarious hang. And
right, right.
those typically don't exist. Like most people that I know that are like deep on that path,
Right,
and are just like
right,
everything
right,
else is really present, and you do a really good
right, right.
job. Um, not only, like I said, yeah, being like a really cool hang and kind of a normal guy with that spiritual practice, but I've seen it, because we've toured together and played countless
Right.
shows together. But when I see it expressed in your art, it's so present and authentic, and like it's just real. Like there's
Mm,
a thickness to it. Like,
thanks, man.
yeah, like I remember when we played in Thanksgiving on Boulder. I remember I forget the name of the song, but tell me what just happened up there. I remember
Oh
watching
yeah, yeah,
it, and I just was like I could feel the
yeah,
heaviness happening, dude. I could like feel you in like
yeah.
that
I
up.
remember that. I got shocked back into that song because I hadn't played that song for so long, and then it kind of snuck up on me, and I was like, "Oh my
Yeah,
god!"
dude. You could feel it too. It's so thick.
Yeah.
That was a lot to unpack. But yeah, how did you just get so in? How did you become so engulfed in Hindu philosophy and practice?
Man, I don't know. It's just it just I grew up in a small town in South Carolina, like a tourist, like polo shirt, golf and tennis. And, I just don't, it's just wild how it all kind of transpired. When I look back on it, I'm like, holy shit. But the main thing was when I went to high school, I went to a boarding art school in California. And when I was there, I had a really good friend, a best friend of mine named Sam Marcus, who, long story short, had a picture of an Indian, mystic on his wall, a saint on his wall. And I saw the picture and just boom, just my whole river changed course at that moment, and I just fell in love with this being. And, um, when you fall in love with somebody, you want to know everything about them. You want to love everything they love, in a way, right? So because he was from India, I wanted to know everything about India, and I wanted to love India.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how it grew. And then it just, that from that moment, it just, all these instances, happened in my life, not by choice, just by meeting or, just situation. And I just found myself surrounded with um, either people or environments or communities that were kind of on that path. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then what really kind of like actually really solidified it is when I remember when I graduated from high school. I'm a senior, like 18 years old, whatever. I signed this big record deal, with Geffen Records, and I got a shitload of money, and I moved to LA, and get this fancy, like nice apartment right on the beach, and it's like, yeah, like this is the moment, right?
Mhm.
And I was just, I was so fucking depressed, man. I mean, I had no friends, right? Because I moved to the city. I'm 18 years old. I'm not in a community or anything. You know, it's a boarding school, so everybody just disperses, right? I had no friends. I didn't know how to like cook for myself. You know, I'm 18 years old. Nobody showed me how to like, so I'm like, you know, going to the same restaurant every day, you know. And this time that like was, I think, supposed to be this like, you've made it successful time was really like super, super hard for me. And I remember that summer, the first summer after graduating, one of my teachers who was a big inspiration, was also kind of on this path, Indian, you know, philosophy path, whatever. He said, "Oh, you should come down to this Kali temple in Laguna Beach. They're having a big festival down there." And so I went down there with him and was just totally enthralled, you know, with the community and the love and the connection and all these things that I was so hungry for in my life and missing in my life at such a young age. I just, you know, so when I went back to LA, you know, it's only like an hour drive down to Laguna. I would drive down there all the time, you know, to the temple, and the main swami there would cook for me every time I came down. So I really was going down there because I wanted a home cooked meal, you know, and he cooked with so much love, and it was just, that's what really kind of sucked me in and drew me in, was that love and connection. And then eventually, you know, I moved down there and then eventually moved in, and the whole rest is kind of, you know, like that. But you know, we have these instances in our life that we have no control over, you know, and some people believe in destiny, some people don't believe in destiny, but whatever it may be, you know, God, spirit, love, I don't know. But it's, you know, we have these instances in our life that completely, you know, they change our course, you know, and we're thrown into this on a path, or that we don't necessarily have a choice, you know. And I don't mean that not having a choice in a negative way. It's just how it flows, you know, and you just are there, you know. And that's just kind of what happened. I didn't have any like, I knew nothing about India or all this stuff. I was like, whatever, and that's just how it happened.
That's beautiful,
you know?
man. Yeah, it's interesting, you know, when you talk about being at 18 and, you know, and having everything happen again. I think it's funny, you know, I feel like the biggest thing that I've gotten from my story thus far of like why I am where I am is because I've always kind of told myself like, okay, if this is when most people would quit, if I don't quit now, I'll probably make it, you know, I'll probably be okay.
Right.
And I remember, you know, I remember calling you. You've just always been really available for me, and it's been super, super huge.
Good, thanks.
And before we even toured with you, I remember calling you and being like, dude, I've been touring for 2 years, man. We're doing like over 100 shows. Nobody's coming to these fucking shows.
Right.
What do I do? Like, and you're, you know, you're just like, you just got to keep grinding, man, you know?
Yeah.
And then I kind of have this narrative of like, man, well, if I could get on some tours with some bigger artists, that would change my life. You know, if I could get in front of these crowds.
Right.
So in my mind, that was like how you made it, was like, you know,
right.
I will work hard enough that if I get in front of these crowds, I'll be able to bear fruit from it. So we had that one summer where we did 2 tours with you and 2 tours with Franti, back and forth. We get the Franti tour and then drive 1,000 miles to come meet you and do 15 shows and then go back. And that year almost fucking killed me, you know? And I just remember, like, I remember when we played in LA together, I remember being in the bathroom and like crying and was like, I thought this would be different, you know?
Yeah.
I'm losing money. I'm like, I'm bleeding, you know? And then the van broke, and it's just like one thing after the other. And I always just came back to that thing of like, it kind of beat me down and made me get in touch with my spirituality, because it's like, oh, well, life is never gonna look how we want it to look. And even if it looks like we thought we wanted it to look, it's still not gonna feel the way we wanted it to feel, you know? And I've always been really drawn, you know, I spent time in Nepal,
And there was
Mm-hmm.
something that happened there, because I went there as an outdoorsman and a climber, not as like a spiritual seeker. That was not my intention.
Right.
Nepal. And we went to Pashaputana, and I remember sitting there at the river that day where all of these bodies were cremating.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
know it well.
yeah, and something just like it became very clear to me that I wasn't just there to climb.
Right.
And there was this weird sense of like familiarity and home. And I spent
Right.
so much time just going to temples by myself. And I remember I texted you when I was in Malibu at the temple, and I had just had such a chaotic summer. And I walked 108 laps around this fucking temple that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's just this familiarity of that vibe where I feel safe. I feel like I'm not an actual human participating in this human life, that I'm just like
Right.
a spiritual being that's using this meat shuttle
Right.
to move around, you know. Tell me about the first time you went to India, and like how old you were and what. Yeah, tell me about when you first time you went to India.
It was through that temple that I was going to, because they go every year, you know. And so it was 2007. It was New Year's Day. I remember it was New Year's Day. We left that day, and I went with 2 monks from that temple, and then my teacher from the high school. And you know, they were so familiar with India, so I was in really great hands and didn't have to worry about much. You know, I think if I went alone for the first time, I probably would have honestly totally freaked out and turned around, you know. But it was wild, man. I remember flying in, and we flew in at night into Delhi, and you know, you couldn't see any land, because it was all the smog, really, the dust, and you could only see the lights, you know, glowing under the clouds or whatever. And we landed, and the first thing I noticed was the smell just hit me so hard. I was just like, whoa, I've never smelled anything like this. And to this day, that smell, like if I smell that smell, I mean, my whole heart just melts, because it represents everything. You know, smell can trigger that memory. But anyway, I remember getting out of the plane, and we got our bags, and like when we came out the doors, you know, and it's like 1 a.m. there, you know, but we see all the people. I mean, I freaked out a little bit. I was like, oh shit, I think I want to get back on the plane. You know, let's go back to, you know. It was just like so overwhelming, you know, but there was this feeling of just like, and I think that's why I love going back there still to this day. There was this feeling of just like this other thing moving you. You know, there's this feeling of this other thing moving you and moving everything else. And you just kind of felt like you're in this, I don't know, it's really hard to describe, you know.
I know.
But I remember we got in the cab, and we drove to the place that we were staying, the ashram we were staying that night. And it's always interesting, like even like, you know, in my travels today, like when we're on tour or like whatever, you know, and we like fly to a place that we've never been to, and you arrive at night. I really love that, because it's like, where am I? I don't know anything, you know. And then you like go to sleep, and then you wake up, and you're like the sun, and you're like, oh my God. So that's kind of what happened there. It's like I didn't get to see anything at night, you know, and then went to bed, and, you know, woke up that morning and was just like, oh my God, like this is wild, you know. But yeah, I mean, that was everything. I mean, that trip.
How long were you there?
Changed. I was there for 3 weeks, I remember, because I had to leave all of them. I left by myself because I had to get home, because I remember I had to go on tour with the Whalers. In Colorado, actually. So I like flew back, and I had like a week at home, and then I like went on tour with the Whalers, and I was like, where the fuck am I? You know?
Dude.
So it was interesting, but it, you know, it just changed me forever. I mean, I was hooked hard by then. I was like, I just want to go back and back and back.
Yeah,
And, you know, I went,
I still haven't made it back to Nepal.
yeah.
And it was like, I went on April Fool's Day, I remember. And it was April Fool's
Oh,
Day when I left. And when I got
that's good.
yeah.
That's good.
And we got
what year was it?
It would have been, what year is it now? 2020? It would have been 2013.
Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got there during the day, but I didn't really sleep on the plane from South Korea.
Right.
So we got up, and I went with my buddy Pete, who's a climbing guide, and he does 6 groups a year. But he had approached me. I had just done this survey job and made my first real chunk of money that I had ever made in my life. And I knew I wanted to go to Nepal. For some reason, that place just called. And Pete was like, well, you know, I don't have a group until May. If you want to go the beginning of April, dude, we can just go.
Yeah.
I like as buds.
Yeah.
But, you know, I got off the plane with him, and same thing. Yeah, that smell hits you. It's hot.
Yeah.
And like, he has been going for 20 years. So he's just Tasha Dele, namaste, blah, blah, blah. You know,
yeah. The whole thing.
Improved, giving everyone hugs and shit. And I'm in the back of the cab going through Tamil, like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah, right.
Crossing the road, you know. And it was just like, I am on the other side of the planet Earth right now.
Dude. I remember, you know, when you're on the plane and you like can look on your TV and like see like where the plane is in the world. That's what I was like, yo, there's no turning back right now, bro. I'm literally on.
Dude, you want to hear a really funny story too that I've never publicly told anyone? So the day that I leave for Nepal, a friend of mine gives me this weed cookie, and he's like, yo, you eat it before your flight, man. And I was like, okay, yeah. So edibles I don't really do because of this reason. So I wake up at 5 a.m. to catch this flight, and I eat this whole cookie. And it was like right after I got through security, I was like sitting at my gate like, oh shit. Like
right.
Not a good like, oh, groovy. It was high anxiety, and the thought of like, I'm going to the other side of the planet right now. That's why
dude, I would have freaked out.
Dude, I almost did when we were first getting on the plane. I remember the lady came up to me, one of the airline attendants came up to me, and I don't remember what she said, but I remember I heard none of it, and I just must have given her the most like, like craziest smile ever. But I was like shaking that whole flight of just like, oh my God, no turning back. Like I'm on the plane, we're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wanna take my wife back so bad. Actually, I kind of want her to go without me, and then we can go together. Yeah. So I've always wondered this story because I met you and Emery in Hawaii years ago.
At a Flow Fest. Yeah.
It's crazy we've known each other that long.
Yeah, Flow Fest. And
I remember Emery, we were sitting at this picnic table, and Emery just turned to me and goes, so when did you go to Nepal? And I was like, what? And she goes, oh, I can smell it on you. When did you go? And I was like, last year. You know, and that was kind of how our dialogue started, was talking about
Yeah.
How did you guys meet each other?
We met in India really like the first time because we were in the process of going on these trips. You know, I was we were raising money for the ashram there because our teacher takes care of all these young children, these young boys that are either orphaned or come from poor families, and takes them in and teaches them kind of the ancient traditions, you know, that are being lost because of modern culture, you know, yoga and Vedic philosophy and chanting, but you know, also sends them to school and their clothes and food and the whole thing. Like, but he's a monk, you know, so he doesn't have a job. He only accepts money through donation, you know. So it's hard for, you know, him, one guy taking care of 12 or 13, you know, crazy kids, you know, running around. But the first trip I went there, I just fell in love with all the kids, and I wanted to help in some way, you know. So anyway, we started at shows. We just put out like literally a cardboard box that just said like donations, and we put it at our merch table, and you know, for the kids. And over the years, you know, a few bucks here, a few bucks there, you know, you get a few $100. A few $100 goes a long way in India, you know. So especially for Guruji and the ashram, you know, it's this really poor ashram. So so we would just send the money to him, you know, and over the years, you know, we had raised enough money to build a girls ashram across the river, and then we were taking care of, you know, about 10 to 12 girls, and it was just this really beautiful experience. But anyway, the long story short is that Emery's family, I knew her family before her because her mom and sisters would come to some of the shows. And I became close with her mom because she was really helping a lot with the kids, you know. So we had a communication, right, because of that. Oh, here's where you send the money, blah, 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 blah. And then I was in India, and or no, it was before I went to India, sorry. She said, oh, my daughter's going to be in India in the winter because she's in school there. She was in this global college where each semester was in a different country around the world. Yeah. And that semester was in India. So she, I said, oh, well, here's my email, like have her email me. And if she should come to the ashram. But I didn't think in like a million years that she would come there because, like, number one, India is like massive. I don't know what part of India she's going to be in.
Right.
And secondly, like the ashram is in like kind of like off the tourist, you know, Western track. It's like in a whole other city. So I just was trying to be polite, to be honest, you know.
Yeah.
And then, anyway, then we were there, and she emailed me and said, I'm in Benares, which is only like 3 hours from our ashram, and I'd love to come see the ashram, and I have some gifts and donations. And so anyway, she came to the ashram, and that's where we first kind of met and connected. And but we didn't have any like lovey-dovey feelings, you know, there, because, you know, you're in the ashram, and
Yeah.
but there was a real extreme sense of familiarity, just like of comfortableness. And I kind of showed her around the city and for a couple of days, and then she left and went back to school. And then when we got back to the States, we kind of connected again, and I, you know, stalked her Facebook, and the rest is history, you know. So that's kind of how it all happened. But it's interesting because we both were born in the same hospital, which is weird.
Whoa.
Yeah, in Connecticut, and like our grandparents knew each other, which we didn't like know about. It was like kind of weird, you know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it's been really amazing. That was in 2000. Let me think. That was in 2012, and then we went back in 2013 together, and I proposed at the ashram. That's where. So it's been an amazing gift to have that place, and that the spirit of that place kind of be like the foundation of our relationship, in a way, of our meeting and stuff. It's been really beautiful. But yeah, it's just what a journey.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
eating groups over in Nepal now, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was you know, as crazy as she was supposed to be there, right? Or no, she was just getting back, right? And in December, January, you know, you're hearing about this COVID-19 thing, and Emery, you know, and her partner Krista we were all talking about, hey, do you think you should cancel this trip or not? You know, we were going back and forth, and you know, we were kind of dealing with, I guess, the anxiety of like COVID, like kind of before it hit like the US, you know. And never did I think, when I was talking to her about canceling her trip, that I was going to cancel my tour, you know, in April, you know. But anyway, we were talking, you know, and she was like, yeah, you know, I think I have to cancel it just for the safety of, you know, the people that I'm bringing over there. And it was like a really tough decision, though, for her and for us and the whole thing. And, you know, 2 months later, it's like I'm postponing tours. Everything's shut down. And it was just, we were like, you made the right decision.
Yeah,
You know, like,
I know, there's a guy here, well, he lives in Bozeman, but he comes to all the Satsang shows whenever we play in Montana and tapes and shit. And he went on a trip with his gal over there and they got stuck.
Oh yeah, dude. I know. I got a friend in
quarantined at a hotel. You know?
Yeah, man. It's wild. Like, imagine if she was over there with 12 or 13, you know, people that have never been to that side of the world. And then you get, I mean, it would have been a nightmare, but
yeah, absolutely.
My homie down in Peru, because Peru closed its borders and everything, he's stuck down there. He didn't get out, you know? So, and then I had two friends that were in Peru as well. And they were literally on the last flight out of Peru. Last one.
Man.
That was it. So it's just interesting that we were kind of thinking about all of this before like I said, the anxiety kind of hit the US. I mean, I didn't think that it was going to.
No, dude. Here's the thing, you know, I don't want to get super, you know, political because we can fucking ride for hours. But like we played that Denver show and then went to Arizona Roots. And then we played 2 shows at the Belly Up in Aspen with OAR. And after the second show, you know, you had been hearing again, because if you have friends that travel, we're starting to hear about this thing. I get an alert on my phone when we're driving back to where we're staying that says, you know, oh, well, Trump made this public and, you know, his first public comment about COVID-19. So I'm like, okay, so I get back to the house and I pull up the thing and I listen to it, man. And like, although I'm not a fan of the dude and he's a completely full of shit dude, I'm like, if you're the president, dude, if there is an infectious disease, you're talking to the guy that knows about infectious diseases. If there is a bomb threat, you're talking to the guy that knows about bomb threats, you know?
Yeah.
So when he came out in February and was like, it's not a big deal, everyone's freaking out for no reason, I was like, well, I mean, that dude's normally full of shit, but like, he is the president, you know, he would know.
Right.
You know, like, so it's just like, I was so pissed where I was like, you know, and then when it came to light was like, dude, not only was that not the case, but people told you the fucking opposite of that, you know? Yeah. So dude, when I think that was like the initial shock when I got all like, cause it snowed like 2 feet the day that my tours where it pretty much became apparent that the tours were getting shut down.
Right.
My manager calls me, I'm driving up the mountain. We just got 2 feet of the softest snow ever. And I was just like, yeah, dude, I'm down to fucking go. I don't care. And he was like, well, you know, some of these shows we have like 245 sold and they said we can cap the show at 250. I was like, cool, dude, maybe I'll just do them acoustic. Like, I'm down to
Right.
And I had like one of my best days skiing of my life. And I actually had like a brief conference call while I was skiing powder. I stuffed my phone in my helmet and was just like cruising. And it's like, yep, I'm down to fucking go, man. And by the time I got to my truck to drive down, I looked at my phone and it was just messages, missed calls. And it was pretty like, we're shutting her down, buddy. And I was just like, wow, you know, and you know how it is because you have a bunch of other people that you employ. You're just like, okay, I have to call all my guys and be like, sorry, dude.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the hardest parts, you know, was just calling the whole crew and letting them know. But they were, luckily, you know, for me, they were all like super understanding because there was nothing that we could do, you know. It's not like our fault, you know. This is like obviously a worldwide thing that's going on. But yeah, it was super crazy when it was like I said earlier, it's like I had a little bit of relief because I was just so wiped out.
Yeah.
But then I was like, yo, like, that's wild that this is happening, right? Like, that's wild, bro. You know, like, because first it was like, you know, first it was like, oh, New York has banned gatherings over 1,000 people.
Yep.
Right. So I was like, oh, well, like, okay, that's interesting. I mean, maybe we'll like downsize the club.
Yeah.
Right. And then I kept telling him actually, you know, the moment it got super real for us was like, I kept telling Emery, she was like, do you think your tour is going to get canceled? I was like, yeah, they're going to cancel like major sporting events before they cancel like little Trevor Hall tour over here, you know, like, because there's like thousands of people in these stadiums, you
Yep.
know. And then I woke up one morning and we're like huge hockey fans. Like we love
Yeah.
watching hockey. We're big Colorado Avalanche fans. Like we had even gotten like tickets for the game, you know, like whatever. And we woke up and it was like NHL like postpones the season. And I was like, my tour is definitely canceled.
Yeah.
Like that's what I knew. Like before I talked to my manager or anything, it was just like, that's it. I told you that was it. And sure enough, like that day, like my manager calls me. It's like, yo, bro. And I'm like, I know. Like it's all good. You know?
That's funny how it like comes back to sports for a lot of people. I'm a huge UFC fan. Like it's the only thing I follow, and I diligently follow it. And Dana White is a businessman too.
Yeah.
When he started talking about canceling shit, I was like, all right, dude, if Dana is money, we got problems, you know?
Yeah, 100%, right?
Well, it's, you know, it's, I think it's going to be at least hopeful. Everyone that I'm communicating with is kind of having the same vibe of like, I'm really hoping that everyone comes back with this vitality of like, man, I've taken a lot for granted, because it's really easy in the monotony of whatever it is we do to be like, oh shit, man, I wish I didn't have to do this.
Right.
And now everyone's dying. Like even people that don't like their job are like, man, I would just love to have something to do.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how we react as a community, you know, how we react as when everything comes back, you know. But for me, I'm not trying to think like too far ahead, like we were talking about. I'm trying to take one thing at a time, and I'm trying to, you know, treat every day as that day, you know, as that offering or whatever. But it will be interesting to see how we respond, you know, as a
I think the
global
thing with our industry that's so interesting is it's like, you know, even if we're going to have a recession, that's just real. That's just what's going to happen. You know, it's already happening. But
say that again. It kind of broke up for a second for me.
Sorry. That there's going to be a recession, you know, it's going to be weird.
Right. Well, there is a recession.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like it's pretty wild.
Yeah. And the amount of people, you know, claiming unemployment right now is like, I don't know if you've seen this graph. It shows like the past 30 years.
Yeah.
And it like compresses the graph, and it like, you know, the day shit really hit the fan, it just like boom, like bigger, you know, 100 times what we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping that people aren't, you know, I've been seeing this Fauci guy saying like, you know, handshakes might be a thing of the past. And I just hope that isn't the case. And that I hope that we get back to large gatherings where everyone's hugging each other and dancing and sweating and, you know, doing the whole thing. It's just going to be a really interesting world. You know, the other thing is not that like, you know, I mean, humans, you know, matter a whole bunch, but it's been crazy seeing like the dolphins back in the fucking canals.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
See the Himalaya from Delhi right now.
Yeah.
I've been seeing on Dustin's stories. He lives up in the hills now, looking over LA. You can see everything in LA right now.
Yeah. It's wild.
It's like Earth is wild. Take a big old deep breath right now.
Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about that a great deal. I think that shows just like, you know, look, if we, you know, if in regards to the environment and everything that's going on with the earth, like we can make a change. Like we can make a change. Like if we stop, like we can make it pretty quickly if we all just fucking stop, you know?
Yeah.
So that's been kind of interesting. One of the big things that I've kind of been meditating upon a lot, is death, you know, and I know that that's kind of a whatever dark subject for a majority of people, but when we have something like this, you know, we think about our lives, we think about what we've done, you know, all these things. But the big thing for me is that, you know, when we die, we are all equal, right? We don't take anything with us. We all are thrown into the fire, and we all come out the same, you know, as ash. And I don't mean to get all like morbid, but this is what spiritually speaking, this is something that we think about as seekers, you know. And when we have something like this, or, you know, whatever, we go and we live our lives, and as we're living our lives, we create differences between people, and we, you know, judge different things in our heads and in our beings, and we create division. Everything's constantly being divided and separated into degrees, and, you know, all these things. But I think one of the beautiful things about meditating upon death, or is all those things are burnt away, and we can come into the real essence of our existence, you know. And you know, like with this disease, you know, it doesn't matter if you are living in Bel Air with, like, you know, a $20 million house, or you are living, you know, in a camper van and whatever. Like, it affects everybody. It doesn't matter where you come from, if you're white, if you're black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Asian, you know, it doesn't matter. And in a sense, that has, when I think about that, it makes me think about the equality of us as a human family, you know. And I hope that I really hope that people touch on that a little bit, you know, in their beings, in their head. I hope they think about that, because when we do, I think we create more of a connection, ironically, right?
Yeah.
You know, like when we talk to people, saying hello to people, can I do anything for you? You know, so that's just been like an interesting kind of meditation for me. I don't know how it got, but we were talking about, you know, what we've all been thinking about during this time.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah, it's just interesting, man, because I think for us, you know, you and I, musicians, I think that's one of the reasons we love music, right? Is that music, it has that mysterious power of going beyond all borders and lines and everything. And in a way, this thing is doing the same thing. Not in as much of a maybe joyful way, but
yeah,
it is bringing us to a place of oneness.
I think the general consciousness needs to be throttled. And I don't want to sound insensitive, but I think the average person, myself included, you know, like activities that, you know, I very much struggle with mindfulness, or not mindfulness, but being present. And I've always kind of required, I always joke and call it consciousness at gunpoint. So whether it's like fighting, rock climbing, ice climbing, these things where it's like, if you're present, there's going to be a severe and immediate consequence.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the human populace can relate to that headiness of just constantly being in this monkey mind.
Right.
Sometimes it takes the e-brake. Oh shit, what does really matter?
Yeah, 100%.
Human life matters. Like the planet surviving matters, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if we all can approach this with some grace, the world might be better than it's ever been when we get done with it. You know? Carl got it. My bass player Carl got it.
Yeah, you know, I saw his video on Facebook just like 2 days ago, and I was like, holy shit, you know.
Yeah, and I think there's, you know, a lot of people just, when you don't have it or know someone that has it, I think it's a really easy thing to downplay of like, well, I've seen the numbers and only this percentage of people are dying. And it's like, man, I was in communication with Carl through the whole thing, and he was scared shitless, man, because it was, you know, it was like, he was like, dude, I literally get up to go pee, and by the time I get to the bathroom, I feel like I just sprinted 100 yards.
Right.
So, you know, and when you're seeing all this stuff in the media about this deadly virus, he's sitting there like, am I fucking dying, dude? Like what, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Am I
100%.
dying?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like, I think, you know, I think that people need to take it serious and, you know, but we can also approach it in a way of like, with some grace that like, that it's affecting everyone. And whether it's, you know, like us just not being able to play a bunch of shows and doing what we do, some people are actually getting sick and some people are dying. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's, it's a heavy thing, but I think it can be transmuted into a really beautiful thing.
Right.
So you
Right.
just transition, you just finished making a new record,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
super
man.
excited to hear it. What is like, is it different than everything you've done? Like, because I know you were working with a completely different producer, but is it like
Yeah.
leaps
Yeah.
sounds different?
I am I am very, very proud of it. I'm very, very proud. Which is big for me to say, you know,
Yeah.
because sometimes, you know, we associate pride as a negative
Not me.
quality, you know, but, you know, I mean, I do think it's different. I think I know I've grown like so much, and partly because of, working with the producer Brad Cook, was really like a dream of mine, and being around him and watching his approach to making songs and recording and being creative and having no fucking rules and just
The video
like
that I saw, it looked very playful. It looked
it
very.
was just, man, it's amazing that you said that because it's still forming, right? We've recorded it, but it's still like I just got a mix last night and we're still kind of adding stuff to, you know, so
Yep.
but you know, whereas the Fruitful Darkness was, it was a journey of like, you know, go really like,
Seemed
you
intentional.
know, there's beautiful parts on it, there's beautiful realizations, right? But a lot of those things came from kind of struggle and hard work, and of course there's some of those songs will be on this album as well, but I feel like with this project and where I was creatively in my journey as an artist, I was much more playful and joyful and not really, it was almost more of like a celebration, rather than this kind of, I don't know, I don't know, journey. There's a lot more love songs, there's a lot
Yeah.
more like just up songs, you know, like this, and having fun and letting my hair down and like being in that joy, the joy of the spirit, and celebrating that, you know. And working with Brad, he really embodies that just as an artist. Like it's just like, let's just go to the depths of our creative, you know, like who cares, like just have fun, you know. But at the same time, he was so intentional too. When that time came, he was so intentional to what the song needed, and even if it was, we would work for hours on like a minuscule part, like a banjo part, like trying to play it the right way, you know, but very minuscule change, you know. But that change, at first I was like, man, God, this is taking forever for like one part. I'm not used to this, right?
Yeah.
Like, but then like hearing how that part transformed the whole song was really magical for me. And I learned so much from him, and I learned so much from working with him, and I admire him so intensely. And I feel like he's family now. But that was really amazing for me to work with somebody that I admired so much. But yeah, we worked really, really hard. I traveled all the way to North Carolina, where he lives in Durham, and we worked out of his house and studio, and I was there for 3 weeks. And I mean, it was like wake up, go all day, come home. I mean, I didn't, you know, I wasn't thinking about anything else. And we literally finished the last day at like 11 p.m. at night, like we finished. And I'm just so excited to hear the mixes, you know, because I don't even have, you know, but also for people to hear them as well. I got introduced to so many different forms of creativity and so many different ways of approaching songs that I'm just really excited. You know, so it's being mixed right now, and we'll be hopefully releasing songs as the years go on, just singles here and there in lead up to the release of the album. I mean, we're hoping that we can release it in the fall sometime, like October or something like this. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like last night, Emery and I were blaring this mix on our speakers, you know, you're just being like, that feeling, you know, and you're like, oh man, I've made something new, you know.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
we just started working on a new record, and yesterday I got most of my parts for now done. You know, I got like most of the guitar one and lead vocals laid down. And we have a few songs that are pretty much done. I can't say yet, but we have a song that we have a feature on, and then we have a song that you're featured on, and we have like 3 songs on the records that are done. But most of the vibe, I don't know, when I had Nako on, we were talking about this, of how like kind of cool and exciting it is watching everybody kind of grow up, you know, and their music is growing with them, and like just the directions it's going. And like, you know, I put everything I had when we released Culture, our last record. You know, I put everything into it, and it was like really in response to the 2016 election, and needed to like, I even remember telling my team, like, look, man, this record might not get a lot of streams, but I have to make it. So when my kid goes, Daddy, what were you doing when the shit was going down? I'm like, I dedicated the whole to it, you know. And like, but in this new one, I've just kind of been like going back to the roots of like playing an acoustic guitar again, and really just this like, listen, like I've been listening to pretty much nothing but acoustic Grateful Dead and acoustic Rolling Stones, and that like 70s rock acoustic vibes. Ooh, you know, and really settling into the like letting Montana really affect the sounds that I'm making in this very country-ish vibe.
Ooh, I love it.
I know, dude. I'm really excited for everyone's music to be out and just be like, wow, this is where everyone's at now, you know? And like,
for sure. It's always beautiful as like friends and, you know, brothers and stuff. Like we all know each other, obviously we all play, but you know, when we don't know what everybody's working on, just like everybody else, until it comes out. And it's really cool when it does. And you're like, yo, where you at? You know, okay, that's where you're at, you know? So, it's really exciting. So many different people have new projects coming out. So, it's just a gift. It's a gift to be able to make an offering, and
an important time for it, man.
And it's an important time for it. Yeah, for sure.
So I have these, I have one more question, and then I have these standard questions that I ask everyone. So,
I'm in.
Okay. So one, what was your first impression the first time that you saw me play? Because I remember when we first played with you in San Francisco, what was your first impression the first time you saw us play live?
Was that at Slim's?
No, Bimbo's.
Oh, it was at Bimbo's, man.
One of the coolest venues ever. I love that.
Yeah, you know, the first time I played there, I was like, oh God, I can't stand this place. I just didn't like the name, and I was like, I don't want to associate women with like a negative, you know, so. But then, like,
I never caught the whole vibe of the place until you just said that. Now I'm kind of like, ooh, I guess it was pretty weird.
Yeah, dude, yeah. But then, like, the next time we played there, I was like, oh, I really like this room, and I like the way it's kind of designed, and it's really fun. Yeah. You know, when we hear music, you know, for me at least, it's like right away, I'm either in or I'm out, you know?
Yeah.
And it's an internal connection. It's an internal feeling. And sometimes you can't explain, most of the time you can't explain it. That's why I love music, is I don't want to explain it things anymore, you know.
Yeah.
It can be a country song, or it can be a fucking rap song, or it can be a heavy metal song. You just feel it, you know.
Yep.
But I didn't know that was the first show. But, you know, to be honest, that wasn't the first show I saw you. The first time I saw you was at Flow Fest.
Oh yeah, that was way back in the day. That was when it was just me and one other dude.
So I know. So I can't even really count bimbos, you know, because it was at Flow Fest when I felt the vibe first, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, that was a really wild time, right? There was a lot of energy, and the lava was flowing, and it was like this crazy gathering, you know. And so you had to really kind of cut through a lot of the noise, you know, to notice something, you know, or connect with something. And you guys really did that for me when we were there. I was like, oh shit, like that's a homie right there, you know. Like and it was just like, it was that for me. It was just like, amidst all this, I think all that chaos kind of made it that much more special for me, because I was like, oh man, this is wild here. I'm not sure if I'm like in this vibe right now, you know, like. And then when we saw you play, I was like, okay, at least somebody else is, you know, with me here, you know. So that was really the first time I saw you play. And yeah, it was only two you guys, but it was really, really special. Yeah, again, it comes back to that feeling. What are you doing, buddy? I got my pup here.
I'm kind of the same way when I hear shit. It's like, I know pretty quick if I'm in or out. I'll give stuff a second chance, but there has to be some time in between, you know. Like there's been that I didn't dig right away. It's usually, I feel like it's always my manager. You know, I'm lucky. My manager loves music. Like, when you're at his house, he's never has anything on except live music playing on his TV, going through his sound system. He's always listening to a live show. Me too, dude. Like he really gets the whole thing, you know? But yeah, he's always the one that's kind of like, hey man, are you into this? And I'm like, nah, I'm not. And he's like, go listen to it again. And then dude. So a couple things that you and I have in common that I think are pretty interesting is like, one, you and I both don't really drink alcohol. Which is rare in the industry. You know, and I've always been, and I felt that same vibe at Flow Fest. Was that place was just like, and it was like, you and Emery were the only people there that were like, you know, very like metal. Like, I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, the rest of it felt really chaotic. But also, you and I both fucking love punk rock music.
Thank you, Ja.
Yeah, dude. I didn't know that you were punk rock until last summer, and I was like, really? Like, dude, because I still
I mean punk rock was like, you know, when I was young, it was that community that I craved, you know. It was that community and that sound that really like pushed all the borders, you know.
Just energy.
And energy, and just shocked. It just shocked me awake, you know, and I needed something like that. And to this day, you know, there's still my favorite, you know, if you went through like my favorite albums of all time, you know, there's going to be 2 or 3 punk rock albums in there, just because they represented that space for me. And that's what I was talking about, you know, when I was talking about hearing you for the first time too. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is. It's a feeling. It's a connection, you know. And so even today, I still am in that connection with those albums, you know. I mean, it was funny because I remember when you realized that, because last summer I'm this, you know, one of my favorite albums of all time is Refused, The Shape of Punk to Come. And, you know, they broke up for almost 20 years. And then they came through Colorado, and I like had a freaking fangirl moment.
Dude, I got goosebumps watching your story. I was just like, I wish I was there, dude.
I was literally, I was freaking out when I went there, and it was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. And I was so moved, like spiritually, internally moved from this punk rock show.
Yep.
It inspired me so deeply, and so, oh my God, it was just one of the best nights of my life. And I took a friend of mine who was also into the band, and it was amazing to see them. But I don't, I don't, when I was really in that chapter of my life, I'm like very thankful for it. You know, I don't look down on it at all, or I don't, like regret it at all. I mean, I loved that period of my life. It taught me so much. And when I hear those albums today, it continues to inspire me so deeply.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Hey, you're
My
just
son,
peeling my hand off. What are you doing? Sorry, my dog is just,
puppy
he's
thing,
like
dude.
chewing my hand. Come on, bro. I'm on a
Yeah,
podcast.
we just discovered that Malachi, my 2-year-old, man, he loves Operation Ivy. And
Oh,
it's
shoot.
yeah, dude. And anytime it comes on, he just immediately starts rocking.
Yeah.
He loves it, dude. He loves that like
Oh,
super
man, what a great
crunchy
band.
guitar. Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
so here are these standard questions, and I'll let you go. And
Hit me, bro.
that was a perfect segue into it, really. Okay, what was the first record or song that made you cry?
The Will to Live by Ben Harper.
Ooh, great answer.
Yeah.
Mine was the Pretender.
Ooh.
Jackson Brown. I was like 6 too. I didn't even know what he was saying. I just something about the song. It just
You
like
felt it, bro.
yeah,
You felt
dude,
it.
totally. And then what was the first record or song that made you know you wanted to do music?
I mean, it was honestly the album that song was on, The Will to Live. I mean, I was doing music before, you know, don't get me wrong, but it was that album, undeniably that album, where I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like this is the moment for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's your favorite hip hop album of all time?
It would either be the Fugees, The Score, or Outkast, like
AT-Aliens?
Either I was gonna say either Aquemini or AT-Aliens.
Well played.
It might be Aquemini though. It might be Aquemini.
Yeah, those guys. That's some underrated shit, man. People don't know, like, because they have those
dude, that's
2000 hits, but people don't even know, man.
Oh, bro, I mean, Andre was my like idol all through high school and stuff, you know.
Dude, so Common was really who made me fall in love with hip hop music, and like the way people talk about the late 60s and early 70s for rock and roll, like that era in my mind is in the late 90s with that whole Soulquarians crew. Like to be a fly on the wall of Common, Andre, Erykah Badu, Questlove,
oh man,
all these guys just hanging out at Electric Ladyland together and like arguing over who gets to keep what, you know.
What a time, man.
My God.
Yeah.
That's magic. What is your give me 3 favorite punk rock albums?
Number 1 for sure is The Shape of Punk to Come by Refused. God, number 2, it's weird because I went through like the phase of like the emo phase too, of like Jimmy Eat World and like some of those
albums. I've been coming back to that recently, that kind of genre, and like,
oh my God,
they're great production, man.
Dude, they're so good, but like, yeah, especially at that time too, right? Like, they were very much ahead of the game. But yeah, Refused. I need to like look up this album because I haven't heard it in such a long time. Oh yeah, Clarity by Jimmy Eat World. That album was amazing. 1999. And I'd have to go with like, it's weird because I really love like the Deftones and stuff too, you know. So White Pony, I'll say the Deftones White Pony album. Even though it's like maybe not technically like punk rock, it's like still coming from that
neighborhood. Yeah,
it's coming from that neighborhood.
Yeah, I was a huge Bad Religion fan.
And yeah, I mean, they were amazing. Less Than Jake. I mean, some of the Scott like area. Oh man,
Dude, that's
Yeah.
kind of how me and my drummer Ben, you know Ben Teeters.
Yeah, for
That was
sure.
kind of how him and I. That's kind of how I fell in love with him. Was like
Yeah.
watching him play all this amazing stuff, and then we got on the subject of like real deal old school ska, and I was just like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. So we're best friends now. Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
What are 3 records that you're listening to right now that you really love?
Oh man. Number one is this band called Bonnie Light Horseman, and they came out with an album called Bonnie Light Horseman, and it's just blowing my mind. It's members of like the National, the Shins. It's and another band I'm just forgetting at this moment, but yeah, that's definitely an album I'm into right now. I've been listening to Sylvanesso a lot, which I've been really into, and got another album. Hey, don't chew Mama's hard drive.
You listen to a lot of stuff that I've never heard of. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, Bonnie Light Horseman's definitely in heavy rotation in the house right now. Sylvanesso and gosh, what is another one I've been listening to right now? Give me a sec. I mean, I would say Ake Beka, Homage to the Land.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah, you and I are also. That's my favorite reggae of all time.
Too good. It's just too good. I mean, it's like 80% of what I listen to.
Yeah, dude. I remember one of the first times that I saw you play, you went into in him and him and him.
Oh yeah, and him,
like,
yeah.
I grabbed like the 2 people next to me, like, yes,
yeah. Yeah, I did. Yeah, like nobody knew who it was when I went into it, but I was just like, I don't care. Like, I need to pay tribute to this.
Yeah,
band that has just changed my whole game.
Was like what is their album? Something Strong.
Only this. What is? Yeah. They have I don't know 77 albums.
Yeah, and it's what's crazy too is that it's like, I feel like that stuff is literally like the perfect. It's where like Hindu chanting meets Rastafarianism.
Yeah, well, but it's that it's a trance. It's a trance. He's when they're playing. Yeah, these songs are maybe 2 chords, right? But who can lock in like that in a trance like that? It's really magical. It's such a hypnotic, meditative journey. And for them, they're just channeling their faith, but their visions, their mystical whatever experiences. But it's just such a tranceful music where you're just lost, and that's what I love about it. Is I'm just when you're locked in, and you are on that train.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, dude, that was awesome. And
are those all the questions?
That was it, dude.
Those were fun questions.
Yeah, dude, and they're ones that I'm gonna ask everyone too. Like every episode of the podcast is
That's cool. That's cool. So
we can end it on a musical note. Ooh, that was a double.
I love that. I love that, man.
Well, dude, thank you so much for taking time.
Yeah, man, it was just good to connect and good to see your face, and hope you stay healthy and use your time wisely.
Likewise.
And hopefully see you in Europe in August.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, for anyone listening, Trev and I are supposed to go to Europe together in August, so we have fingers crossed that is real.
Fingers crossed, baby. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I love you, man. Give all my love to Em and the dog, and let's keep in touch.
For sure, man. My love goes back to you and the fam, and stay safe, and we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Have you been listening to Tyler Childers?
I only know that one song. The one song, the cocaine song.
I'm gonna send you some. That's a dope song. But I'm gonna send you other non-cocaine related Tyler Childers songs.
Yeah, send me non-cocaine related songs.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I love you, bro, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, boss. Have a good one.
Peace.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoy episode 2 of the Satsang podcast. Make sure you keep tuning in. I have some amazing guests coming up from other musicians that you probably know and love, Hall of Fame UFC fighters, health and wellness professionals, mental health professionals. We have so much to bring you, and yeah, we hope you keep tuning in. This has been a really fun thing to do during this time, and yeah, I can't wait to bring you more. On the news side of things, we have rescheduled almost every single tour date that was postponed or moved because of COVID, and we are going to announce those dates super soon. We've kind of got to the place where some of the clubs aren't quite ready to announce, so what we're going to do is we're going to announce everyone that is ready to announce, and we'll just blur out the other 3 or 4 dates just so you can see where we're coming, get your tickets, and rest assured that if you bought tickets to a previous show, that those tickets will still be good at the rescheduled date. Anyway, I love y'all. Take care of each other, drink water, and we'll talk soon. Peace.